not your fault that they're depressed. It's not your fault that they're anxious. It's just what they're going through. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Malik Adigan. Thank you for watching. Today I want to talk about the 6 ways that you can support your partner suffering from a mental illness. I know what it's like to go through mental illness and to have someone you're in a relationship with. It's very tough, very confusing, and there's a lot of things that you can do to try to help the other person if they're suffering from anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, the whole thing. There's some ways that maybe you can support your partner. These are ways that me and my girlfriend kind of navigate things together. She does an amazing job. So here are the 6 ways that we can help support our partners with mental illness. Number 1 is you gotta be patient. Be patient with them. Dealing with anxiety, depression, mental illness, we don't always know ourselves what's going on in our own head and our own heart. We're confused just as much as you might be on the other end looking at it. So try to be patient. If you're a fixer, you're gonna wanna try to fix everything. And it might not be what they need at the moment. They might just need someone to kind of weather the storm with them until it leaves. Don't always try to figure it out and maybe wait for them to maybe figure it out and then tell you what's going on. But patience is a key to this whole thing. Okay, so number 2, and this is super important, really important, maybe the most important one, is don't take it personal. Don't take what they're feeling as something that's wrong with you. Don't take what they're going through, their depression, if they're sad, as something that you did to make them sad, or they're sad because of you, or they're anxious because of you. It's not about you. And so I want to let you off the hook. If you're a partner that has someone that's dealing with mental illness, take a deep breath and know that it's not your fault that they're depressed. It's not your fault that they're anxious. It's just what they're going through. So you slowly have to learn to be the objective bystander and remove yourself from their emotion. A lot of times, Yasmin, my girlfriend, will think that she did something to make me depressed or she did something to make me anxious when it has nothing to do with her. Sometimes we're even gonna tell you that you're doing something to make us anxious or you're doing something to make us depressed, and that's immaturity. That's actually not true. We're projecting that onto you. So you try your best to not take it personal. Even sometimes you could say, this is not about me, this is about them. And then you can separate yourself. If you can become the objective sort of like bystander and kind of see it from a bird's eye view, you might be able to have a little bit more patience, a little bit more empathy, a little bit more grace for them, even when they're going through it, even if they're blaming you. And you have to figure that out, how to learn to tell each other that this is not about me, this is something that you're dealing with and I'm here for you. So don't take it personal. You're okay. It's something that they're dealing with. Okay, so number 3, and this is a little tricky and I'm still learning this. When it comes to anxiety especially, your partner is going to want reassurance. Now, I've heard different things about reassurance and it can be tricky. So your partner, if they're dealing with anxiety, they're gonna want you to reassure them that everything is okay. And that's gonna feel good for them. That's gonna feel, when Yasmin tells me, well, you're okay, or I'm looking for reassurance, she tells me that, it feels good. But what happens is, that person, that partner gets so accustomed and you kind of train them to look for that reassurance from you. So when it comes to anxiety especially, you want to make sure that you're not just reassuring them all the time, because now they're going to be dependent on that. You want to try and let them know that, hey, we're okay. So sometimes if I'm having anxiety, I'm feeling a little bit depressed, Yasmin will say, hey, you're okay, we're okay. And that definitely helps me, but I can't depend on her reassurance to work through my anxiety and depression. The better thing to do is for me to learn to find that reassurance in myself, to not pay attention to that anxiety, because if I pay attention to that anxiety and I feed it, then it only gets stronger. So try and reassure your partner sometimes, but make sure it's not what they're depending on. At least in my experience, that's what I found to be helpful, is a healthy balance of reassurance. Okay, so number 4 is gonna take a lot of work on your part, and that is learning about your partner's mental illness. That means Googling articles about how to help things like this, watching things like this, learning how to deal with them, learning how to be patient with them, all the ways, all the strategies that you can help them get through it. And also learning about their mental illness, like physiologically, biologically, learning all about that. Because when you learn about the ins and outs of the brain and the ins and outs of mental illness, you kind of understand it and you're able to be more empathetic to your partner. If you know that where anxiety comes from, how it works, what's happening to the body when they're anxious, if you know that, then you have a lot more empathy and a lot more patience, because you're like, wow, that's actually really tough. You know, if you learn what they're feeling at the moment, that their heart rate's going crazy, that they're having a flight or flight response, that if you learn all those things and you learn the causes of them and you learn how many people in the world deal with it, and then you have a lot more empathy to help them out, to be patient with them, to love them. And so do as much learning as you can. Learn their triggers, what triggers them into anxiety, and try to be sensitive towards those triggers and everything. So learn as much as you can about your partner's mental illness. Number 5 is super practical, and that's have a code. Have codes for what's happening, especially for your partner's mental illness. You have to figure out in the moment of anxiety, depression, whatever it is, whatever they're feeling, you have to come up with a code that you both know exactly what's happening when you say that word. So for me and Yaz, it's, hey, I'm having a bad brain day. I usually say I'm having a bad brain day. When I'm really, really depressed or really anxious, I know my brain is having a reaction. I know something's going on. And so I just say, hey, I'm just having a bad brain day, and automatically she knows, okay, something's happening. For her, she says, I'm in a funk. So I know when she says I'm in a funk, that means she's feeling depressed today. That's very practical, and what it does is that it kind of automatically puts you in the mentality that, oh, something's wrong. It's not something with me and you, but it's just something that you're dealing with that's affecting us. So I'm gonna back off. I'm gonna let you have your moment. Also, if you have codes, try to bring different levels of it. So if I'm having like a little bit of anxiety, I can usually function pretty well. But if I'm having really bad anxiety, I have to let her know. And so I say like, it's at a 5, 1 out of 5, come up with maybe a spectrum of numbers of like, no, my anxiety is really bad today, it's at a 5. Or it's just at a 1, I'm having a little bit of anxiety today, I can manage it, I'm fine. If I say I'm at a 5, she knows, oh shit, I need to intervene. We need to take a moment, figure this out, do something. So having codes, having levels, spectrums, communicate what you're going through so that you both can know exactly what's happening in the moment. So maybe sit down, come up with different codes for what you guys are going through to help each other when you guys are feeling off. Number 6 is very important. Encourage them to go get help, and do this in a loving way, compassionate way. Don't tell them you need to go get help in the middle of them having you guys having a problem, but gently encourage them to go seek professional help. Maybe help them find a therapist. It's very intimidating to find a therapist. So maybe you guys sit down together, maybe you send them links to a nice therapist, maybe you've done your research, but you gotta slowly, if you need help, you can't be their primary caregiver when it comes to their mental illness. You cannot be their therapist. That's not your role. You are a husband or a wife, a lover, a friend, but you are not their therapist. And so you need to encourage them to go to therapy. And maybe that means you going to therapy yourself and getting help, or you guys doing it together. So if it gets bad and you know it's unmanageable, you need to encourage that person to go get help, and you need to support them in a loving, compassionate way. Okay? If you're watching this video all the way through, that means that you love your partner and you want to see the best for them. And so I just want to encourage you that you're doing a great job. You're awesome. You're an amazing partner. And thank you for watching this video. I encourage both of you guys to be as healthy as you can, to give each other encouragement. You guys are doing amazing. Be brave. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. Peace out.